Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Some of you may remember that a while ago I recently bought one of the rarest books that I've kept my eye on for a while, and I did a whole video on it. I will have it up here somewhere and a link will be down below. But I'm a massive Shaun Hutson fan, and Shaun is a horror author that's in the UK. And there's this one book that is extremely rare, is extremely hard to come by, and I found it on eBay and it was at a real good price. I think the price of the book and the postage as well rounded up to about £50, so it was a really good deal. So you know what, I thought to myself, well, this book doesn't come up very often. It's probably going to be months until this book comes up again on eBay. So I thought, okay, I'm not really going to haggle with price, so I'm just going to pay it and get it. And that book being Chainsaw Terror by Nick Blake. Now, let me just put this down because this is the prize of my whole book collection. This is the rarest book and also the book that I've actually spent the most money on. So Nick Blake is a pseudonym for Shaun Hutson. I have no idea why he wrote it under a different name or wrote it under a different name, but it is Shaun Hutson that wrote Chainsaw Terror. And because it's so rare, I presume it's because it's a banned book. Now, I read this as a readathon that I'm taking part in, well, sort of anyway, called the Christmas Evil Readathon. And this covers the prompt called Sleigh Bells, about reading a book about a serial killer. And I also want to dedicate this whole video to BADisRAD, as the main character is obsessed about using a chainsaw, and BADisRAD has a fascination with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie and franchise. So I will have her channel linked down below. Highly recommend her, and she's just an awesome person. Because this book is what I classify as extreme horror, this isn't for anyone that's faint of heart or easily offended or disgusted in any way. I have no idea whether this is the most extreme book out there. It probably isn't. But when I was thinking about, okay, I've got to do a video on this, I was thinking, well, how the hell am I going to talk about it? Because a lot of the things in this book are very inappropriate to talk about online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be vague, but will give you guys enough information. And also, before I get into it, it was really interesting and cool to read a book this rare. It really was so interesting. So this book focuses around our main character called Edward Briggs. Edward, at the start of the book, is a young man living with his mother and father, and also his sister. We find out that Edward's father is a carpenter, but he works a lot. He's a workaholic, and he's hardly ever home. And then one day, when the father comes back home from work, he discovers that his wife is in the bedroom packing a bag, ready to move in with another man, as she needs to get her wants and desires fulfilled in some way, and it hasn't been by Edward's father, so that's why she's gone to get it with another man. This upsets Edward's father to an extreme level that he does the unthinkable. You know, when people do their wedding vows and they get to the part where until death do us part, yeah, they go there, and I won't say exactly what happens because I don't want to get in trouble and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, in case you're one of the lucky few that actually read this book, or get a chance to rather. Essentially, he kills his wife, and Edward sees this. He actually witnesses the whole argument, and he's fully aware about what his father actually did and what's going on. But this scene is extremely violent and gory, and yeah, it's I mean, it's only the first chapter of the book, and it really blows your mind. A couple of years have gone past, about a few years have gone past, and Edward is living in the same house with his sister. But the sister is trying to move out. She's found a guy that she's fallen in love with, and she secretly wants to move out. But Edward is set in his own ways. He's very stubborn, and he wants to have his sister always in the house. He doesn't like to have any change or anything like that. He's taken up his father's company or job being a carpenter, and he has all these tools at his disposal, including a chainsaw. He's a handyman at times, and there are a few times in this book where women are kind of throwing themselves at him, and Edward doesn't like women. He doesn't like women. He considers them to be floozies and selling their bodies, and he doesn't like them. He looks down on them, and I don't really think that he's attracted to anyone apart from his sister. And yes, I do mean that. He likes his sister way too much, and you know what I mean by that. He loves his sister a little too much. He looks on his sister in a sexual way. In fact, he's even got a hole in the wall which faces inside the bathroom, and he spies on her Norman Bates style. But obviously he goes beyond that. He gets sexually aroused when he looks at his sister, and whether she's got clothes on or not, and he gets a bit excited, or a lot excited. So when Edward's sister finally gets up the courage to ask, or tell him rather, that she's moving out, that she's found another man, that she's moving out, and that she's going to start a new life, Edward doesn't like this. In fact, he goes full on rage mode. He accuses his sister of being exactly like his mother, and saying, well, I love you with all my heart. Why won't you love me? And again, just to clarify here, guys, just to make it crystal clear, guys, this isn't a love between two siblings or two friends or two acquaintances. He genuinely loves and fantasizes sexually about his sister. And this results not too well. In fact, body parts come off, and including the head. After this happens, Edward keeps the head. Yes, he keeps the severed head of his obviously deceased sister, and he keeps it in his room. He puts it on the pillow. He props it up against the headboard on the pillow of his bed, I presume, or of some bed in the house. It kind of reminded me a lot about how Jason Voorhees kept the head of his mother in the second movie, or Friday the 13th. But Edward does a bit more to this head. Nick, or Shaun should I say, describes how the head deteriorates, how it is rotting, what the eyes look like, what the skin looks like, and he goes into extreme detail. And Edward doesn't just keep this head around for decoration. No, he actually kisses the skull. He actually goes full on Frenchy with this object or item, I don't know. So anyway, as the book goes on, Edward picks up all these prostitutes off the street, primarily to take them back to his home and to essentially kill them, do a Jack the Ripper on them. But he wants to take them back to his own home, probably because it's a secret place for him, it's a private place for him, and it's a place for him that he's familiar with, and he knows that he won't be disturbed. We find that there is this, I think, detective or police officer, no, reporter, that has a kind of love infatuation with another prostitute who wants to try to get out of the business, or as the book describes, the game. And this prostitute and this reporter know that these other prostitutes have been taken by Edward back to his home and they've mysteriously vanished and are never seen from again. So they have to like team up and try to solve the mystery about what's going on. But at the same time, they are struggling with their own feelings towards each other, their romantic and sexual feelings towards each other, and how this prostitute is trying to struggle about getting out of this whole situation that she's found herself in. And there's a pimp that is responsible for her, or is her boss or controls her or whatever, and he's the biggest, I don't really want to say what I want to say, but he's the biggest douche ever. And he hits her and threatens her, and he doesn't want her to leave, as he thinks of her as like a form of income. So that's that kind of struggle that these two people that love each other but are from different worlds, that are trying to change who they are and get together. They do have elements in this where they do have sex with each other, and Shaun does go into detail when it comes to the sexual scenes, and it does get really hot and steamy. There is a slight scene in this, very, very briefly, where two women are doing stuff sexually with each other. So yeah, that's just the book really. You may be thinking, well, does Edward use a chainsaw? Yes, he does. And the book does describe about how it goes through people's bodies and how it chops them up and what it sounds like and what it feels like. And he doesn't just use a chainsaw, he does use other things as well, other weapons and other tools, but he does prefer to use his chainsaw. So apart from the scene where, or the element rather, where he loves his sister too much, and this book being extremely violent and gory and bloody, I think that that's why it was probably banned to begin with. But despite that, this book is exactly the same as any other Shaun Hutson book. That the characters are really, really good. The story is written in such a good way. It flows really well. It never dragged. There wasn't a single part of this book which I was thinking, oh, okay, can we please get a move on? This is dragging. It had a nice flow to it. The characters were really engaging. I cared about the characters. Even if I didn't know that this was written by Shaun Hutson, I would have probably guessed that it was written by him, anyway, because of the writing style. It was kind of like my own thoughts about when I read The Children That God Forgot by Graham Masterton. If I didn't see any videos or any pictures about Graham Masterton and what he looks like, I would have thought that Shaun Hutson was him as well. So, would I recommend this book? Yes, I would. If you can find this book and it's a good price, or a good price to you, then I would definitely recommend it. Probably not the first one I would recommend if you are trying to get into Shaun Hutson, but I'm really pleased that I did read it. And it did give me some sort of like Ed Gein, Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes. Although the house that Edward lives in is a suburban neighborhood, it's a house in a wide, big neighborhood, rather than a solitary house in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. It was a good book, and it was a very shocking book, and it was a thrill from start to finish. And I'm really pleased that I read the most rarest book that I have in my collection, and I'm really pleased about it. I really am. It's just a shame that this book is banned and is extremely hard to come by. But obviously, because of the trigger warnings, I would just, say go into it with caution. With the other two books that I've read by Shaun, the most recent one I read was Deadhead, and that one was banned in one shop over here in the UK, primarily because of one scene in the book, or one specific element within that book. So if you have read a few of Shaun Hutson's other books, no matter what ones they are, then when you go into this, you'll be more familiar about it, and it will sound exactly like Shaun, because it essentially is Shaun, but I've no idea why he wrote it under a pen name and not under his usual name or his real name. But yeah, if you have read this book, please let me know what you think about it. I don't really read that much extreme horror. I mean, I would like to, but I haven't had the chance to. Yes, it is uncomfortable to read. It is gory. It does make you feel a little bit queasy and sick, but it was a thrill ride. It really. I can't recommend this book enough. I mean, if you can get hold of it, I would highly recommend it. So yeah, I would rate this book a 5 stars out of 5. Does it deserve that score? Probably not, but that's what I'm gonna give it anyway. So guys, that's all I had to say. Once again, have you read Chainsaw Terror? What did you think about it? Have you read any other books by Shaun Hutson? If you have, let me know what you have read by him, and we can have a discussion about it down below in the comments. And lastly, please do not forget to check out BADisRAD2's channel. I'll have a link down below. So guys, that's all I had to say. So I will see you in my next one.